Friday night, I'm Shari Williams. Rick is off. The big story on Action News tonight is breaking news. Another teenager is dead after gunfire late tonight in the city of Philadelphia. The 17-year-old is the third teen killed in just 2 days' time. This latest shooting comes as city leaders try to stem the violence. Action News reporter Bob Brooks joining us now live from the latest scene, this wing in King Sessing, with the details from there tonight. Bob.
Well, Shari, it's yet another shooting at another rec center here in Philadelphia. Behind me here, the scene not so active right now, but just a few minutes ago, it was very busy. The primary focus of it on the basketball court that we're zooming into, and again, the victim, a 17-year-old boy. Tonight, Philadelphia police confirm a 17-year-old was shot and killed at the Frank Myers Recreation Center at 58th and King Sessing Avenue. When we got to the scene, police were looking over the basketball court for evidence. This murder of yet another teen comes as 16-year-old Kyrie Simmons of West Philadelphia was shot and killed yesterday evening playing basketball at the rec center at 55th and Christian Street. We spoke with his family earlier today.
Kyrie was loved. He didn't deserve this. He did nothing. He just left the house and just went to go play basketball with his friends. That was it.
Police say in that case, 4 males exited a small SUV and began shooting, striking Simmons and 2 other teenagers.
And they'll tell you, all you need is more rec centers. That will solve everything. More rec centers. Okay? The problem with rec centers is very simple in our communities, in certain communities. In those communities, those rec centers are for the kids in the neighborhood. They're a place for the kids in the neighborhood to congregate. Well, what if those kids are in gangs? What if those kids are just hoodlums and street toughs? Delinquents. What if those kids are juvenile delinquents? And you have some pasty liberal talking about all that's going to solve the problem is more rec centers. Less cops, more rec centers. And my thing is, how many teens, how many young people have to die before we abandon this anti-police stuff? Like I told you, I was in Pennsylvania a couple weeks ago. I mean, not a couple weeks ago. I just got back, actually, last night. But I left a couple weeks ago. I was up there for 2 weeks. The cities in northeastern Pennsylvania are not the same. They are not the same. It used to be Italians and Germans and Polish. And you'd have a lot of drugs, a lot of meth, a lot of crime, but almost no murder.
Also yesterday, security video captures the sounds and part of a quadruple shooting in the 1400 block of North 76th Street in Overbrook Park. Another 16-year-old was killed, as well as a 24-year-old man there. And during a news conference at 55th and Christian, Mayor Jim Kenney said the city will begin weekly updates on the epidemic of gun violence in the city.
The briefings will be open to members of the media and streamed publicly on the City of Philadelphia's Facebook page.
And Shari, what we're seeing right here is right across the street from the rec center, a fire broke out. I was actually the one to tell police officers that it was in fact on fire. Luckily here, everyone made it out safe, but very tragic for the family. The home is badly damaged. Then, of course, we had the fatal shooting right across the street, a tragic night here in King Sessing.
Big story on Action News tonight is the aftermath of a horrific day of violence yesterday in Philadelphia. 9 people shot, 3 people killed, 96 homicides already in 2021. Action News reporter Annie McCormick is live at police headquarters. And the commissioner met with the media late today. What did she have to say?
Well, Jim, the commissioner saying tonight immediately they are putting more officers in uniform in those neighborhoods where they're seeing the increase of violence. But she's also calling on parents and people in the community saying you should know what your children are doing on social media. And Jim, in so many of these cases, like in the case you're about to hear from, a family you're about to hear from, these teenagers killed are just innocent victims.
Kyrie was loved. He didn't deserve this. He did nothing. He just left the house and just went to go play basketball with his friends.
The family of 16-year-old Kyrie Simmons reeling over his death. Simmons, a boys Latin sophomore, was killed while playing basketball at a West Philadelphia rec center in a triple shooting Thursday evening. His teen friends survived. 4 men exited an SUV and opened fire, then took off.
He wasn't involved in anything. Like I said, we kept him out of trouble. We would take him places. We treated him like the king he is.
And in Philadelphia, man, when you got a rec center, the little tough guys from the neighborhood, the little street hoods from the neighborhood are going to claim it as their own. Because it is theirs. It's for the kids in the neighborhood. At the end of the day, they not even really doing anything wrong. They're the kids in the neighborhood. You said stopping crime is not about police. We don't need more police. We need more rec centers. Well, do you think you need police at the rec centers? Because kids are dropping like flies at rec centers in Philadelphia. They're dropping like flies. Good kids. And we're not talking about the street toughs. We're not talking about the street urchins. We're talking about the good kids, because those kids also going to come to the rec center. So basically, you're going to have the teen world of your community that played out across the different areas in the neighborhood, for the most part, consolidated in one area, the rec center. And when that happens, that's a recipe for disaster, because the guys from your neighborhood then shot at the guys from the other neighborhood. They didn't look at the murder rate in Philadelphia. The guys from that neighborhood have killed a bunch of guys from that other neighborhood. Shot countless, but they've killed a bunch of guys from that other neighborhood, or whatever neighborhood they're beefing with. Whatever neighborhood there's a feud with. So it's back and forth, and it's back and forth, and it's back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. And it never ends. And building more rec centers, it doesn't give the kids something to do, because they're not going to, what are they going to do that they're not doing in school?
In the span of 8 hours Thursday, there were 9 shooting victims at 3 separate scenes. In Overbrook Park, this surveillance video shows a quadruple shooting. A 24-year-old and a 17-year-old, later identified as Tamir Brown, died. There was a double shooting in Point Breeze after 11 last night in the 1900 block of Tasker. Last night's violence happened while a vigil for Antonio Walker Jr. took place. The 15-year-old, a track star not involved in street life, was shot to death on Tuesday. City and state federal leaders today talking about an immediate response to the violence, and additionally, the commissioner making an open plea.
Please, come together with us, work with us so we can be proactive with our youth. These social media beefs, these arguments, people on the ground know who's arguing with one another. Please share this information with us.
And And Jim, as with every homicide in the city of Philadelphia, there is always a $20,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest and a conviction. That is something that they want the public to remember. $20,000 for information. Just call 215-686-TIPS.
Okay, guys, make sure you hit that like button when you come in. Make sure you share these videos on your Twitter. Subscribe if you haven't. And most importantly, take that $5 challenge via PayPal or via the Cash App. And if you're watching this as Premiere, take the challenge via the Super Chat as well. Let's get into it.
What's good, bro? We know from growing up here and what's going on right now, there's a culture of violence here as a solution. I mean, point blank, period. And we realized we had to counter that culture.
We don't have to settle our disagreements by shooting one another. So let's put the guns down. We're calling a truce.
That's how we arrived at an app. It works like Uber or Lyft, right? You got two buttons on the app. One that says get help, one says become a mediator. The mediator can chat with you. They can text, hey, what's going on? Make an assessment. Let us know what information you got. What's your schedule like today? Ideally, we want people getting on here before guns are out, you know? We gotta stop thinking about it like this just happened. The police will tell you, they usually know each other. It's usually been ongoing. There's other characters in that story. We need those characters to become mediators, and we need those characters to hit the get help button. Doesn't matter if you're thinking about getting even or you're thinking about getting got. We need to just call a truce. You know, who are we to declare that for everyone who's at war? Well, we citizens of Philadelphia who tired of it.
We've known each other since we were about 14 years old. We played basketball together.
You're good at that.
Then we got serious, you know, as time went on.
I think we just arrived at that conclusion that no one is coming to save us, so, you know, why not us? All right, man. Good to see you.
And then you got pasty liberals online championing these things. They're championing these outdated, like, these things ain't even outdated at this point. They're stupid. They're taking these people, the black people in these cities that work, they're taking their tax dollars and using it for a place for their kids to go to die. Think about it. You're a parent. They build these new state-of-the-art rec centers, and these rec centers are phenomenal. State-of-the-art rec center. These places, the architecture, I mean, they built a bunch of them in D.C. The structures are made, I mean, swimming pools, basketball court, Olympic-sized swimming pools, basketball courts, the outdoor facilities are great, big parks around it. The indoor facilities are great. And you're excited as a parent. And then your kid comes home that first day and he looks kind of sad. You're like, what's wrong? Didn't you go to the rec center today? He's like, yeah. Well, what's wrong? And then you, over the course of like 30, 40 minutes, you pull it out of them and you find out it's some serious little carjackers and killers up there, and he don't fit in. And it's only one way he gonna fit in. I mean, the little kids, 12, 13, they're having relations with each other. Some of them popping up pregnant. Tons of them are being arrested. I mean, you get arrested and they get out the next day. But so bunch of the little boys been arrested 30, 40 times, and they're 14. And you thinking like, man, I can't send my kid to the rec center. And this is before anybody gets shot. Because the shooting is the big thing that makes the newspaper. Somebody got shot at the rec center. Oh my God, it was crazy. Little kid got killed at the rec center again. But what those kids are doing when nobody's getting shot? The bullying, the adult conversation and adult behavior, the antisocial behavior, the disrespect of the staff there, the disrespect of each other, the fighting, the fights. They not gonna put a fight in the news that happened at the rec center. It would have to be like a big brawl involving like a bunch of kids for that to make the news. Those happen all the time. Then the staff tells one kid he can't come there no more. Oh my God. Now that staff member got to watch his back when he go into his car at night. Not because he thinks somebody gonna do something to him, because the kids have told him. The kid who he put out the rec center for beating up other kids or using drugs or being disrespectful, that kid told him he was gonna do something to him. And that kid has a reputation for doing stuff to people. And when you talk to that kid's mother, it's a 90% chance she's going to cuss you out if you tell her something about her son. And his dad's in jail, or his dad's, if he's home, he just came home from jail and he's going back soon. And he don't live in the home. And you sent your little kid down there. Because your tax dollars paid for it. And you should have sent your little kid down there. You had every right to send your little kid down there. You ain't did nothing wrong. That place was built for your kid. It wasn't built for the type of activities that's going on down there. It was built for all the kids in the community, but it wasn't built for the type of activities that's going on down there. And then a parent gets a phone call. Mr. So-and-so. No. Scratch that. Can I speak with Miss So-and-so? Yes? Are you sitting down? And then she drops the phone because she knows. She already knows. It's not, these parents not... Her little son, he 13, 14, and a bunch of his buddies been killed already. Or shot. A bunch of them at least been shot. A bunch of his schoolmates been shot at least. And they disrespectful and they aggressive. They're very aggressive. And when she sees them, she could just tell because she's an adult and she grew up in the community. And she could just tell because she ain't stupid. She know what type of kids they are. As soon as they ask her if she's sitting down, she dropped the phone and start crying because she know what happened. And you got white liberals and woke, super woke, black anti-police, we oppressed kings and queens, oppressed kings and queens, online talking about more rec centers and less police.
Family and friends gather to remember another young life cut short by gun violence in Philadelphia. Good evening, I'm Jessica Cartalia. Yuki is off. 15-year-old Antonio Walker Jr. was shot and killed Tuesday night. He was an innocent bystander. Natasha Brown is in southwest Philadelphia, where a vigil was held for Antonio. Natasha? Well, certainly a somber gathering here this evening in Southwest Philadelphia. Family and friends of Antonio Walker Jr. honored him here at Bartram Field in Southwest Philly just a short time ago. Take a look at some of the video from the vigil that we got just a little bit ago. There were dozens of loved ones who gathered and lit candles. They also released black balloons into the air because they tell me that was his favorite color, and that is another way they're honoring him tonight. The 15-year-old was in Southwest Philly visiting his cousin when a drive-by shooter opened fire. The teen was shot and killed by a barrage of bullets not meant for him. The shooting happened in the 5200 block of Penchurch Street on March 9th at about 7 p.m. Antonio Walker Jr. suffered multiple gunshot wounds and was pronounced dead at the hospital a short time later. I spoke with his mother and his father a short time ago, both devastated by their son's senseless murder and a life they say that was cut far too short.
Keep his memory and what he stood for and the part that he played in the world. Just keep that.
And he was a good boy. I mean,
Honest, loyal, integrity. He did the right things. We really had to tell him to think twice. Unless he was into playing a video game, of course you had to tell him 3 or 4 times. But other than that, he did whatever we told him to do.
You got people from other races that ain't even white or black on here talking about. And these people are terrified of these kids. I was one of those kids. I wasn't one of the real bad ones, but I was a kid growing up in the city. And I used to get on the train after school and the stuff we would do. One time we wanted a car on the train, we sprayed mace just to see everybody cough. We sprayed mace and ran over to the other's car and watched through the window everybody. We sprayed mace in one car, ran giggling to the other car, and watched as everybody in that other car, other people getting off work, coughed and gagged. We're loud, we're disrespectful, make fun of handicapped people, loud, talk about people like they're not even there, guys sitting right 2 seats away from you, and we're sitting there in a group like just talking about them like a dog, and this is the first time we've ever seen them in our life. I remember one time we did that, and I got a wake-up call because we were talking about one kid, and he had like a big afro, and I was part of the group that was talking about him. I mean, we were talking about him like a dog, and everybody he just sat there and ate it. We didn't know the kid. It was deep. It was a lot of us, so we just did it. One morning, I'm getting on the train going to school. So that was when we were coming from school. So I'm with everybody when we coming from school, because then we all once we get to our certain stops, we all split up. Everybody go their way to go home. But in the morning when I'm coming to school, I'm by myself. Man, this kid ran up on me with a knife and tried to stab me. And if it wasn't for this man, a grown adult black dude, who would have been the type of dude we would have probably harassed, he grabbed the guy while he was trying to stab me. Cause I was speed walking. I was like, oh, he was menacing me, like, lunging at me and whatnot. And I was just dipping through the people, because in the morning in the train it's real crowded, so weaving through the people. It was like he was chasing me. Like I was terrified. He had the knife out and everything. It wasn't like he had the knife like tucked. It was just out. He wanted to kill me. And what ended up happening was I was scared. I was shook up. I hopped on the next train, and he was standing in the window with the knife. I'm gonna get you. And I didn't know where this dude lived. I didn't know what school he went to. That's what you get when you mess with somebody you don't know where they live. You don't know. He was just out there, so I was even more terrified. So that day when I got on the train that evening, I was terrified. I got home, and my stepfather worked at one of the worst public schools, high schools in D.C. So what ended up happening is he had this big thing in his desk, a big box in one of his drawers. Whole drawer, like the cabinets on the side of the desk. He had one of those cabinets that was full of blades that he had confiscated from his students. So he would confiscate over the years. It was like he worked for 25, 30 years in the public school system. So he had a bunch of blades that he had confiscated from students. You know, students semi-respected him. If he'd take the, you know what I'm saying, he had semi-respect. And I went in that drawer and I took one of the blades. I took one of the blades, man, and started carrying it. Now I'm carrying a blade to school. I'm 14 years old and I'm carrying a blade to school. And it ain't for nobody at my school. Yeah, I got a little fights at school, but the school, you know, I knew a lot of the kids from elementary school, and I mean, whatever. And I wasn't that type of kid to just go to school to fight. You know what I'm saying? My mother, you know, she's a professional woman, so she sent me to school, you know, to learn and whatnot. However, now I'm carrying a blade to school. And I'm looking over my shoulder when I'm going to school and I'm leaving school. And I'm supposed to be a good kid. And then next thing you know, I start hanging with the wrong crowd. We already was stealing, but then we started doing little stick-ups, robbing people and stuff at knife point, stealing cars and yada yada, and it just goes from there. So yeah, my heart goes out to these parents, man. My heart goes out to these parents. These parents had every right to send their kids to the rec center. But you have to understand what you're sending them into. You have to be realistic. Like, you know, you can't play stupid. You can't play dumb. You have to be like, come on, stop playing. You know, stop playing. Stop being, stop letting these white liberals tell you their version of your community. That's one thing black folk got to stop doing. We let white liberals tell us what's going on in our community. It's the police. No, it's not. You know damn well it ain't the police. You feel good when it's the police. It's white, racist white people. No, it's not. When you hear voices and you turn, if you walking down the street and you hear voices coming from around the corner, and you in our community, and you in a certain community, your antenna's gonna go up. Your stomach gonna start rumbling. You're gonna start bracing for anything. If those voices are very bassy of a certain group. But if you hear those voices and they're of another group, you feel, oh, okay. When white people is around, you feel safer. When the police is around and white people around, you feel safer. Stop lying to yourself. Stop this crap. When black people around, you feel unsafe. You know that. Stop lying. When there's no police around, you don't feel safe, especially if you're in a group of black people or if you're just in a black area. You know violence can erupt at any time. Shots can ring out at any time. So stop it, man. Stop letting these white liberals tell you what's going on in your neighborhood when you know damn well it's the opposite.
Yeah, really just a huge ripple effects from the loss of this young man who had such a bright future ahead of him. Antonio was an aspiring entrepreneur. His parents tell us he loved science. He was into climate control and the environment. His funeral, meantime, it has been set for Saturday. The investigation into his murder is ongoing. That's the very latest here in Southwest Philadelphia. Natasha Brown, CBS 3 Eyewitness News.